Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a nice 10-game Major League Baseball slate. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? Also, make sure to check out the weather for this slate, as there's quite a few games with weather potential situations. So, before I get started, though, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? It really helps the channel a lot. Let's go and get into the slate here. So, we'll start with our pitchers. We're going to start with Zach Eflin. Now, he has been pitching pretty well, getting over 20 fantasy points in 3 of the last 4, and he's been pretty solid lately. He also had some big games. He also has faced a pretty tough schedule, so that's also good. In this particular situation, he's going to be facing Kansas City, who's been pretty weak lately. I really like his upside here as a result. Zach Wheeler for Philadelphia is also in a good spot. Now, he does face a team that I do like some players on, but his floor is higher than you would think, and despite his inconsistencies as a pitcher, he has had some really good games lately, and I like his upside in this matchup, though I do like a couple San Diego players on the slate. Then we'll look at Kyle Bradish for uh, Baltimore against Miami. He draws some really good upside here. He's been pitching really well lately, and he doesn't give up a ton of earned runs, which is definitely helpful. In 5 of the last 6 games, he's been over 20 fantasy points, and in that stretch, he's only given up uh, 2 earned runs in any game. His K rate is also improving, which definitely gives him some good utility here. I do have some contrarian options here as well, and that'll be Scherzer for the Mets, Miller for the Dodgers, um, Lugo for San Diego, Flaherty for St. Louis, and Perez for Texas. They all draw decent situations. However, Scherzer and Miller are both in tough matchups and facing each other. Uh, as for Lugo and Flaherty, they both have easier matchups than the two above them, and they're cheaper, but they still have some risk. And then Perez is high risk, high reward, even though he's in a pretty good matchup. He, struggles to get over 20 fantasy points very often, but he definitely has the potential today. Moving to our catchers, William Contreras is a core play today for Milwaukee. He did hit a home run yesterday, and he has more great upside on this slate. He's just hitting really well in Cincinnati, and I really like his upside as a result. Wilson Contreras is also in play for St. Louis, as he draws really good metrics as well. He's also been hitting the ball extremely well lately. If he draws a start, he'll be somebody that I would definitely consider here. You could also consider JT Realmuto, Adley Rutschman, and Gabriel Moreno on the slate. Maybe in the first base here, we'll start with Matt Olson, who is absolutely just crushing the ball this season. He's got 30 home runs now, and even yesterday he smashed 11 fantasy points. He's had 2 really solid games against the White Sox. I look for that to continue here, and he does need a home run to pay off here, but he's definitely got the upside to do it. Joey Votto for Cincinnati is hitting the ball really well recently. Despite the couple bad games against Milwaukee to start the series at Cincinnati, he definitely draws good upside here, as he's hit the ball pretty well recently with a bunch of home runs. Then we'll look at Luke Raley for Tampa Bay, as he draws some really good metrics for this game. He has hit the ball pretty well this season. His batting average has increased, and he has home run upside here. And he is kind of due for one as well. You could also consider Andrew Vaughn, Christian Walker, and Freddie Freeman at this position. Moving to second base, we'll look at Ketel Marte. Now, he has been a little bit slumpy lately, but the matchup metrics here are off the charts. He also draws big-time home run upside, and I tend to like him when he fits these particular situations. Then we'll look at Brandon Lowe for Tampa Bay. Now, he hasn't been quite as good as some other players on Tampa Bay, but his price is still pretty good. In fact, a lot of Tampa Bay guys are priced very well today. And he draws great metrics here with nice upside. He has been a little slumpy lately, but Tampa Bay has great matchup versus Kansas City, and I think he's a top tier option on the slate. Borderline guy that I consider making a core play. Then we'll look at Chris Morel for the Chicago Cubs against Boston, and a weaker pitcher. He's been hitting really well recently with a 316 average over the last 10 games. He has been somewhat streaky this season, but he's had enough good games recently that suggests he's back on track, and I like his home run potential in this one. I also like Nolan Gorman for St. Louis, as St. Louis draws some interesting upside here. Now, he hasn't hit the ball very well lately, but he has really good metrics for this game, and he has nice upside as a result. And I do think St. Louis is kind of a contrarian stack today. Then we're going to look at Brendan Donovan here, who's had a 351 batting average recently. He's really hitting the ball extremely well. I like his upside, and he's hitting almost 9 fantasy points per game in that stretch. He also has some low-end home run upside. You could also consider Matt McLain and Ozzie Albies at this position. Then we'll look at third base here, and we'll start with Elly De La Cruz for Cincinnati, as he draws absolutely incredible metrics here. Though he's had 3 straight games where he hasn't been that good, and he's gotten some strikeouts, but he definitely draws good metrics here. He has home run upside, and if he gets on base, he has stolen base upside as well. Manny Machado is one of the few guys on San Diego I do like a lot today, as he's just hitting the ball extremely well. He's got a 342 average over the last 10 games, and he's averaging almost 15 fantasy points a game. It's hard to ignore that. Then we'll look at Evan Longoria, who I tend to like occasionally in certain situations, and he draws really good metrics here. He's also hitting the ball at a very good clip at a 300 batting average. However, he's not scoring a ton of fantasy points this season. Occasionally, he has good upside and home run potential, and this is one of those days. You could also consider Jake Berger, Chris Morel, and Austin Riley, along with Nolan Arenado at this position. Maybe in the shortstop, Elly De La Cruz can also play here. Tim Anderson, though, is a really good option at shortstop. That's just $4,000. Now, he doesn't have home run potential, but he does have get on base potential and stolen base potential. So he has really good metrics for this game, despite being a little slumpy throughout the season. The batting average does need to come up, but he does have good utility on this particular slate. Willy Adames for Milwaukee also in play today, as he's really improved recently as his batting average has risen, as his play is finally starting to do a little bit better throughout the season. He also has home run potential on this particular slate. You could also consider Bo Bichette, Bobby Witt Jr., Corey Seager, and Ahmad Rosario. And then we'll look at outfielders, and Acuna, Jake Raley, Luis Robert, and Christian Yelich are all top-tier plays. They all have massive home run potential and have hit the ball really well this season. Acuna is literally just insane, as he had 2 home runs yesterday. We could also consider Tatis Jr., Juan Soto, Josh Lowe, and Bryce Harper as top-tier options. Then for value plays here, we'll look at TJ Friedl for Cincinnati, as he draws really good metrics for this game. Though he has been somewhat hit or miss recently, he's still averaging 257 this last 10 games. Though he doesn't have a home run, but he does have good metrics for this one, and he's at home, which is an advantage. Kyle Schwarber, his price has come down quite a bit, which is really making him viable on this slate, despite the fact he has bad batting average. He actually hit a home run in both games yesterday for San Diego, and so he draws really good metrics again here, and he's a little bit cheap for his potential. Luke Raley is also in play for Tampa Bay, which you could also, I think I already mentioned him at this position at first base. He draws good metrics and has really good utility at first or in the outfield. Then we'll look at Eloy Jimenez for Chicago White Sox, and they face a young pitcher in Atlanta, so he definitely has some good potential here, as he's averaging almost 300 over the last 10 games. He also has home run potential, which is what we look for here. And then we'll look at Jesse Winker, who has been up and down throughout the season, but he's finally starting to hit better recently with a 238 average of the last few games. Now, he's not got crazy metrics here, but he's still decent, and he's had some good games as of late, so he does draw some utility here. But he is high risk, high reward, but he is dirt cheap. And then Will Benson for Cincinnati. He's hitting the ball really well, hitting a 321 batting average over the last 10, including almost 8 fantasy points a game. And if you look at his games, he's having a lot of really good games, and he's been, when he does draw the start, so you do need to make sure he draws the start, though, but he definitely has some utility in this one. So with that said, guys, you could also consider Lars Nootbaar, Ian Happ, Sia Suzuki, Michael Harris, and Nick Castellanos at this position. So with that said, guys, thank you guys again for liking, commenting, subscribing, and have a nice day, guys.